Okay, now let's perform the pull test. Over a period of approximately 3 seconds, I'm going to increase the tension to 9.2 kilograms, so here we go. A steady increase to 9.2. I start my time. As the tension drifts a little bit, I crank it back up to maintain 9.2. For the 10 seconds, now the test is over, I decrease tension at approximately the same rate. At this point, I inspect my snap. If nothing broke or detached or became extremely deformed, that test is passed. So now I would test the other side of the snap. I can remove the washer, it's only used for the socket side. I can put the stud side of the snap. It's a little bit more difficult to clamp on the stud because it's small, but this gripper is made specifically for testing snaps and buttons. Same test. We're going to gradually increase to 9.2 kilograms. Over approximately 3 seconds, you can see the stretch. I'm bumping it back up. I'm watching the time. Maintaining 9.2 kilograms, the test is complete. I decrease tension at the same rate. Inspect the attached item. There's no visible damage. My 2 prongs are still properly bent. That test is passed. Now we'll move on to testing the 2 buttons for the adjustable waist elastic. Exactly the same procedure is used, only in this case the stretch is going to be more evident because we introduce the thread, and also the button is sewn very close to the slit where the elastic comes out of the waistband, and this causes a lot of stretch. We use this same gripper for both buttons and snaps. It has little fingers on the end that wrap around the edge of the button or snap and give it a secure grip. When it's being tightened onto a button, it's important to ensure that the button is flat and square in the gripper and not cocked at an angle. And it's also important not to over tighten it. Tighten it only enough to securely hold the button. Here we're looking at the same test, but you will see more evidence of stretch on the meter. So as I increase over approximately 3 seconds, up to 9.2 kilos, you can see the stretch. I'm compensating, I'm watching the time. And this test is complete. I decrease the tension at the same rate. I check the button for any chips, cracks, or obvious damage. I check the thread to make sure the thread is not trying to pull from the garment. Everything looks fine. This test is passed. Let's test the last button in the same way. It helps to slightly lift up on the gripper as you're tightening it onto the button, and this helps keep the button square in the fingers of the gripper. Same test. up to 9.2 kilos. Watch the stretch. In that case, the test was failed. Let's see why. In this case, you can plainly see that the thread is still in the button. The button did not break, crack, or chip, but in fact what it did was the thread tore out of the fabric. This is a single ply of fairly lightweight denim, and the denim was not able to support the stretch or the stress on that number of stitches. If the same thing just happened and the thread was not in the button, if the thread was still in the garment but the button was clean, then it possibly was a thread break and actually the thread snapped. The other thing to check is the eye of the button to see if the eye broke out of the button. See if there are fragments of the button around the stitching. In this case, it's a clean case of fabric failure. The fabric was not able to support that tension on the stitches. Okay, let's discuss the probable cause of this failure. It appears by the spacing on the stitch marks, or this garment was constructed using the pinch method, where the operator pinches the fabric and inserts it into the button stitching machine. Then the button is sewn on to this pinch, and after sewing, they pull it out flat to make the stitches flatten out. In using this method, it's very possible to put varying amounts of fabric in the pinch being put into the machine, and it appears that on this one, not enough fabric was put into the button sewing machine. Therefore, all of the stitches were attached right to the edge of the material, and when the force was applied, they pulled right out. For this reason, product management has mandated that all buttons on youthwear garments must now be attached using the tunnel sew method.